Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1985 Mercury Marquis Wagon. Up front is a 3.8 liter V6, and down below is a 3-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this here Marquis Wagon for a couple of reasons, but mainly the fact that it's from the 80s, it's a boxy wagon, and I absolutely love that. This video was filmed in the beautiful sunshine state of Florida. If you would like to submit your vehicle no matter where you are in the country, please head on over to zackpradle.com, where there's a quick and easy submission form, and the next time I travel the country, I might be coming to you. But let's get back to that 3.8 liter V6 under the hood. Well, it's an Essex V6, and this particular engine actually has throttle body injection. There were a couple different engines offered in the Marquis Wagon, all the way going up to a V8, but this was a more normal V6 that you would have gotten, or a more normal engine option that you would have gotten. However, interestingly enough, because this is fuel injected, it actually got the 3-speed, but if you still opted for the carbureted engine, it came with a 4-speed automatic, which is kind of interesting. Now, this 3-speed is doing fine, cruising around town, driving it even on a busy highway like this, it's doing fine, it's doing the job. Now, on a long road trip, you might not get the best fuel economy out of a 3-speed, but that's okay. Last but not least about the Marquis Wagon, of course, is the fact that it is rear-wheel drive. What does it feel like to actually pilot, to drive the Marquis Wagon? Well, it has that 80s boxy floatiness to it. The suspension kind of has a mind of its own. The steering is really, really light, almost overly light, and that's what I've come to know and love. I've driven a 1982 Ford LTD, and it drives in a very similar manner. Now, that had the V8, this only has the V6, so of course power is different, but the overall feeling of it is rather similar. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a couple of gauges. Off to the left is my fuel, as well as my warning lights, and off to the right is my speedometer, going up to 85 miles an hour, as most Fords did in this era. On the steering wheel, I do have cruise control settings down below, but the actual grips for the wheel are so low. This is really a cruising car, and the steering wheel just reiterates that. Off to the left, I have a climate control vent, as well as my headlight switches, and on the door, I have manual mirrors and manual windows. Moving into the center, I do have a digital clock, which is very, very nice, as well as 2 climate control vents, the climate controls themselves, so fan speed off to the left, temperature up top, where to send it down below. And then I do have the factory radio. Couple of favorites, volume and tune, and that's all you really needed. Then I do get a little pull-out ashtray, and I actually don't have a center console, meaning that I don't have any factory cup holders here in the Marquis Wagon, so it unfortunately but predictably fails the big friggin' bottle test. However, we do have to talk about the seats. This does have a bench seat with a nice fold-down armrest, and they are very comfortable. This is the era of cars where the seats were almost a part of the suspension, helping cushion the ride and keep the driver satisfied. And I have to say, I am pretty satisfied, and I like that a lot. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 1985 Mercury Marquis Wagon, and I know it's kind of dark here. It's supposed to storm here in Florida in a couple of minutes, but sitting back here, it's actually not as spacious as I would have thought. Now, I've also reviewed a Mercury Colony Park, and that was a lot more spacious, and I'll leave that video at the end of this one. But the seats are nice and comfy, and the nice thing is that I can see everything. I can see fully out the windshield, I can see fully out the side windows, I can see everything, which is really, really nice. However, we do have a really big trunk space, so let's hop in back and take a look at that. All right, so we're on the back of the Mercury Marquis Wagon, and like I said, the rain is starting to come down. So come back here, pull it up, and this is what you get in the back. You don't get any rear-facing seats, unfortunately, but I love that Daniel left the period-correct luggage in the back. Oh, it's starting to come down now. Anyway, you do have some storage off to the left. You get some storage below, but like I said, I love the period correct stuff in this car. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love the look of this Marquis Wagon. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I love the brown on brown. You know, the 80s to me is really broken up into 2 categories. The later half, 86 and on, is really the vaporwave purples and yellows and pinks and blues. But the first half of the 80s was really just an extension of the 70s, where it was brown on brown on brown on brown. So that's very evident here in this Marquis wagon. But now let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Mercury Marquis wagon? Well, first of all, I think this is a really cool experience. I love driving normal cars from this era because yes, it's cool to drive the cars from the 80s that were iconic, but there's a whole lane of automobiles that gets forgotten because they're not a DeLorean. They get forgotten because they're not the 5-liter Mustang. And so that's why I love focusing on cars like this. But I also wanted to touch on another topic. As some of you may know, I'm filming this video in St. Augustine, Florida. St. Augustine is the oldest continuously inhabited city in America, being founded in 1565 by Spanish explorers. I took some time yesterday to enjoy the city, and as I went to the Shipwreck Museum, ate at Cap, and did some light shopping, I started to think, why do I care? Why does anyone care about this old city? Why am I drawn to places and things that have lived many lives before my own? The conclusion I came to was comfort. Old things have lasted a long time and they've made it out fine. We already know what happened in the past. There's no guessing. You can take all the time in the world to reconcile and make peace with the past. The future is scary. No matter what any billionaire tweets, we have no idea where we are going. The past is already done. It's written in stone. And the past has a funny way of always being better than reality. When we think of 1985, we think of no internet. We think of summer. We think about the brash music and lovable movies. We forget about the hijacking of the Achille Largo in Italy. We forget about the 4 airline crashes that happened in just the month of August. We forget about the terrible earthquake down in Mexico. But nostalgia has swooped in, and it's coddled us. Nostalgia has knit a fluffy blanket that protects us from reality and suspends us in the warmth of the past. The 80s weren't any better or any worse than any other decade, but I don't care. I'm happy with my altered truth that the 80s were amazing, that people were more honest and stand-up citizens, that life was simple and not so complicated. Is that true? No, but I'm comfortable with that idea that I've created. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Daniel for letting me take out his Mercury Marquis wagon. Such a cool automobile. I was so excited to drive this. I love stuff from this era. I love vehicles and just history like this. And so I'm excited to see what you guys think of it. Huge thank you again to Daniel for letting me take it out. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.